to say that, so much work has been done as to how best to change the world by so many organizations and individuals. Maybe a culmination of all that work lies in the Sustainable Development Goals, where the world, or many countries of the world, have committed to do stuff for the good, and they incorporate so many noble objectives, including with regard to nature. So maybe if I could really do something, I'd say that would be my starting point. Make sure they happen.
One thing I would establish in Malta is an institution, something like a Parliament of Religions, which would be a non-executive, of course, parliament. It's an institution where structured dialogue can take place. And when I say religions, I include there people who subscribe to an atheist belief system or a humanist belief system. So when I speak of faith, for me, it's any person that has a belief system, be it God or a non-God. To have like that something that can inspire people. The World Council of Churches, for example, if you look at Islam as well and Judaism, they have strong, beautiful traditions in relation to how people should relate to nature, to the ecology. Mm-hmm. So if we could somehow bring this energy, bring that force and channel it into a way that is benign, that enhances communities, I think it's worth doing. It could be a way of having structured dialogue with the actual parliament, which is secular and that we elect. But it will serve more as a think tank, but an organized think tank that actually also there will be funding for it. In ethnoecology, ethnobotany, it's a discipline that I think would be nice to mainstream it and to also have funding where you can have people apply for small projects which are ethnobotanical. Because it does help people understand, again, their place, their relationship with the environment they are in. It's about how do we use plants in our food, for our bodies, whatever, to give gifts to each other, which we do all the time and every day. We're eating plants, we're giving flowers as presents, we're using plants as medicine. We're doing this all the time. It's about becoming aware of it and celebrating it. And this is thanks to people, migrants who came here and created a demand. Biophilic design, so thinking of construction as a way to enhance nature and not destroy it. And I think these are things that our ministries, our departments need to look at and incorporate. So when you, for example, issue a tender to construct whatever, a public space or whatever, it can be promoted to be a biophilic design, something that will actually enhance nature. So it's ultimately about policy. It's always about policy. Whatever change we want to see in society, it boils down to policy. We do tend to be violent creatures. The way we farm is very violent. The way we consume food is very violent. We need to look at these things from a violence, non-violence perspective and reconciliation. But I do think that beliefs matter because beliefs shape the actions we take. Beliefs shape the projects we finance. So I do really believe that we need to be very clear what are our beliefs, what do we believe in, and depending on that, where do we want to go as a society? We need to make peace with the fact that we are humans. I think the fact that we try too much to be gods, to act like gods, and when I say to be God, I mean to take control, to be in control of nature or whatever, to be in total control of the force of life. I think that is where we say like the planet is trying to put us back in our place. No, it's the nature is trying to put us back in our place. And I think making peace with our humanity and with being human can help us go a long way. And this is not the problem that we are facing now. This is a problem that humans, it's cyclical. Every generation goes through this.
I would change the economic structure of our society. Capitalism makes it profitable to drain the world around us of resources And we then use those resources wastefully at the detriment of natural processes, which in the end is to our own detriment. Related to that, I would tax the rich and put social responsibility on the industry, at whose hands we are seeing the destruction of the natural world and our future. Agricultural policy needs a serious overhaul to move away from the intensive practices which depauperates the land, contaminate the soil, and destroy food webs. And meat production can also not be sustained at the current level. It takes up too much land and uses up too much water, and is a major greenhouse gas contributor. I would also focus on rewilding. Too little of our planet today is wild and pristine and untouched. We are literally affecting every corner of the world, from the poles to the deepest oceans. We need to give space back to the wild for the natural processes that we depend on to continue.
I think I would really try to affect our dependence on fossil fuels. I think our dependence on fossil fuels, oil, coal, gas, is one of our biggest problems, like extracting that, but also the CO2 emissions coming from it. So I would really try to push renewable energy, planting a lot of trees. And I think a big problem at the moment is, at least here in Malta, is protecting what trees we already have. So at the moment there's a lot of destruction. So really put a stop to the destruction of what we already have. In today's globalized world, everything we sell, the products we sell, you have products crisscrossing from one side of the world to another, and we don't take the environmental cost of these products, So I really would push to start taking into consideration the environmental cost of the things we buy, the things we sell. And really put a stop to plastic packaging. I really hate plastic packaging. It's having such a big impact on our seas, and I think I would just stop that. And in general, I would try to focus on moving to a circular economy, where things get a second life, things get reused, where appliances are made in such a way that they can be fixed,
I think one of the most crucial things, and one of the first things I would do if I had absolute power and a magic wand to get anything done, would be automatic distribution of wealth. So all wealth would just be distributed amongst all beings and humans in an equal way. Because I feel that it's a really crucial step towards anything happening. And without that, there's a big missing link. My second step would be to create a massive break for everyone and make everyone rest and stop and come out of the rat race. The thing is that coming out of the rat race is not possible if people are looking for the most basic needs to be met. So the distribution of wealth has to come with the break, the doing nothing. And COVID has done a pretty good job of giving us all a break, but it hasn't been accompanied by any kind of redistribution of wealth. If anything, wealth has been funneled towards smaller and smaller sources that, like, so many of the highest earning people in the world have become richer and richer and richer during this past year. And then it's impossible for people to actually have a break. If you look at who has had a break through COVID, you miss out the essential workers who are out there doing their job every day. Many who can't stop and have a break and think about their links to everything and how they might thrive and how they might, like, what is their purpose, their calling, what would they love to do. For many people, it's impossible to even think of that because they're just running after their next most basic thing. And actually, well-being can be independent of material wealth, which is something that I think we've forgotten as humanity. And the third thing I would do is to train our ability to notice the details, because we literally miss the woods for the trees and miss what's important even though it's right in front of us. And without this ability to see details, to look in the cracks for possible answers to our questions, then we wouldn't be able to get anywhere. And I think alongside with this is to train our capacity to sit with discomfort, because we're in a space where I really believe that humans have the capacity to get through this, but only if we manage to activate the best side of ourselves. And that requires sitting with discomfort. That requires looking at all the unanswered questions and creating even more questions before running to some kind of solution. So the capacity to sit with these questions, to be in a space of not knowing sometimes for a long time, is something that is crucial. And again, COVID has done a pretty good job of training this with us, because we have to. Everything is uncertain all of a sudden. So we don't have any other choice except to be in this uncertainty. And I think the last thing I would do is to amplify local stories of thriving in relation to ecosystems. I really think that we already have so many successful stories of people living in tune with their surroundings. And I'm not saying just in some wild, forgotten other end of the universe, but here and now. Like if I look in my current home place of Zaytun, I'm sure I can find stories of people being in tune with their surroundings, people having huge knowledge of what's around them. And they may be few and far between, but if we listen to these stories, if we learn from each other, if we piece the things together around what we know and sit with what we don't know, then maybe we'll get somewhere. Then maybe we'll move to something that is more harmonious, that is more in tune, and maybe we can again find our place in the family of things